right, so we were talking Stephen Fulton versus Naoya Inoue. I was looking at Get This Smokes discussion stream, and they were talking about. I was surprised to see a lot of people picking Inoue to beat Stephen Fulton, and some guys talking about Stephen Fulton being backed up into a corner and stuff like that. And let's get this out the way. There are different kinds of power. Inoue showed, good power for the weight classes he's been in. I guess the guy who he did best against was Nonito Donaire, and that was because in the second fight he got Nonito out of there. Nonito was like 39 years old when Inoue faced him, you know. So when he was 38, he gave Inoue quite a run for his money, and that's because Donaire was a much bigger guy. Naoya Inoue, is a very good fighter, but I don't think his power is like all that, like people are making it out to be. In terms of facing Fulton, Fulton is going to be a younger, fresher, better version of Nonito Donaire. In fact, Fulton can do it all. He can fight on the inside. He has very good defense on the inside. Much better inside fighter, I think, than Inoue is, unless Inoue's improved his game. I know he's all around growing and developing as a fighter. Again, Inoue's not really good at fighting on the back foot. He sets traps and stuff, but he really uses his reach, his range, to sort of, and his speed and his sharpness to really keep his opponents off, check hooks and stuff like that. But he really, if Fulton closes the distance on Inoue, starts fighting him on the inside and pushing him back, I don't think Inoue's going to be able to do much. And this is where Fulton can use his size and his strength on Inoue. And Fulton can do that. Fulton can do it all. He can box off the back foot, the front foot. He can box going forward, going backwards. He knows how to use the jab to close the distance. And I really see Fulton using his size and his strength on Inoue. I think that's what's really going to make the difference in this fight. And I think he's going to back Inoue up, and a lot of people are going to be shocked by that. Inoue is going to, of course, try to use the trademark check hooks, and he's going to try and counterpunch him as he's coming and closing the distance. But, Fulton's very defensively responsible. And I don't think that Inoue's got that kind of shot selection or power to really keep Fulton honest. He has to try and catch Fulton with something that Fulton doesn't see, first of all, to really even stun Fulton to start with. Inoue's going to be the faster of the two. Inoue is sharp, but again, speed and quickness only goes so far. I think Fulton has the better timing. I think Fulton has much more patience. I think Fulton, because he's gone 12 rounds many times, he knows how to set the pace. He knows how to set the tempo for a fight. I think his shot selection is better than Inoue. I think that he has better, he's a much more all-terrain kind of fighter. That is, he can fight at any range. So he's much more versatile than Inoue. I think Inoue's a very good, sharp fighter, quick fighter, prefers to fight from distance, has a good left hook, particularly left hook to the body. He does have nice counter rights, and he tries to set up his opponents and get them vulnerable and then get them out of there immediately. He has the shock factor. But with a veteran like Fulton, and Fulton is a veteran, not only Inoue, but Fulton has a lot of experience facing the kind of top-level opponents Fulton has faced. Fulton's basically faced not weather-beaten old veterans at the end of their game, which is why Inoue looks so spectacular. But Fulton's fought more prime fighters, more top contenders, more undefeated fighters who don't know how to lose. Fulton's fought fighters who have skills and abilities, skilled southpaws. He's faced, skilled inside fighters and outfought them. He's fought awkward, guys who could go both ways. They could, switch hit and long and range and yet collapse and fight on the inside. Fulton's seen a vast array of fighters. Inoue's only faced mostly faded fighters who may have been at the top of the game, but they was faded. And he's always fought a fighter that wasn't as quick as him, not as sharp as him. When he's going to face Fulton, because of Fulton's timing, Fulton's going to be as quick as him. Fulton's going to be a sharper, and he's going to be bigger than him. And Fulton knows how to use his size. He knows how to use his positioning. He knows how to use his footwork. He knows how to use his defense, particularly the defensive aspect. I think Inoue's not as sharp on his defense. His defense is usually his offense. He doesn't really block punches. He doesn't really roll from punches. He slips punches, but he doesn't necessarily catch punches. He doesn't necessarily parry punches. He likes to counter. Yes, sharp counters, but his thing is that he tries to push fighters on their back foot. Even if he's stepping off to the side and he's using lateral movement, he doesn't really move straight back. He doesn't really fight off the ropes. He don't fight off the ropes, right? Fulton fights off the ropes. Fulton can do it all, And so there's just so much that Inoue doesn't have in his game for me to think that he could beat this all-round, world-class, comprehensively elite, the best 100. He's going to get schooled. And if he doesn't watch himself, he's going to get stopped. Okay. We've seen Tyson Fury stop Deontay Wilder twice now. And the reason Tyson Fury was able to do that is because he was using his size to his advantage. He was bullying Deontay Wilder. He was clinching him and putting his weight down on him. And just all of these little things that I'm telling you about, you can bet your belly button dollar Stephen Fulton's going to use them in that fight against you. He's going to rough up that boy. That boy better be physically strong because Fulton's going to rough him up. Vasily Lomachenko versus Devin Haney. Vasily Lomachenko used his skills in martial arts to move Devin Haney where he wanted him to tumble him. Even when Devin Haney was pushing him down to get the advantage and flip Devin Haney over, fling him across the ring. Lomachenko was able to do that because of the infighting skills and then his grappling skills that he had, his jiu-jitsu training. So all I'm saying to you guys is you got to understand there's more to boxing than meets the eye. And there's more than one way to wear down your opponent than meets the eye. And Fulton knows all these things. Y'all talk about Jerome Ennis and y'all high on Jerome Ennis. Fulton been shining way before Jerome. In fact, he used to mentor Jerome. He used to spar Jerome Ennis. So if y'all think Jerome Ennis is a bad boy, then just because y'all don't know Fulton from the amateurs and stuff, Fulton a bad boy. So I'm not going against Fulton. The reason Fulton's going into Japan, into Naoya Inoue's home turf to whoop his ass is because he knows he can whoop his ass. He ain't even second guessing it. He's not even second thinking this. He knows he's going to beat Inoue. This is not if, but, or maybe. And he going to build a name off of Naoya Inoue and he going to get his pound for pound position. He know what he going in there. He going in there to take that from the calmness of Stephen Fulton in Japan. He's super calm. He's super cool. They call him Cool Boy Steph, I know. He's not on any fanfare or anything because he knows what he can do. And he knows Inoue has got a lot of learning. He got a lot to learn. I'm not going to lie. Inoue, he's sharp. He's a smart fighter. Okay, he sets up his shots. He sets up his knockouts. He looks at the deficiencies in the fighter. He sees it. When he sees it, he takes his shots. But against a guy like Stephen Fulton, that kind of, I get you out of there real quick and stuff. That ain't going to happen. Not this fight, right? You didn't see it for the first Donaire fight. That was the first world-class, top-class elite fighter Inoue faced. He went 12 rounds with him. Yeah, he dropped him late. But Donaire was putting a beating on him. He broke his eye orbital. The reason that happened, and Donaire is nowhere near the comprehensive fighter that Stephen Fulton is. Fulton can do so much more than Donaire. Inoue he's doing a step-up fight. And kudos to Inoue on taking this challenge. It's a big challenge for him. He's going to learn a lot. He's going to learn a lot against Stephen Fulton because Stephen Fulton is not I'm telling you, man, this guy been the dude since the amateurs. Stephen Fulton been that dude. Okay? This is not, Stephen Fulton runs under the radar. A lot of people don't know about Stephen, but after this fight, they all know him. They're going to all know Stephen Fulton. Okay? There's some Devin Haney stuff that he doing. You know what I'm saying? But even before Devin Haney was a name, Stephen Fulton was a name. Y'all don't know these. See, a lot of y'all don't know who Stephen Fulton is. But at the end of this fight, y'all gonna know who Stephen Fulton is. This guy is no joke. All right? And the guys he's been facing are tougher competition than what Inoue's been facing for this reason only. Inoue has been facing old fighters. The guys at the top of the game, the guys with a lot of experience, but they were old fighters. Fulton had been facing better opposition because they were younger, skilled, and a lot of them much more skilled because they're in the higher weight classes. They got to be skilled. And on top of this, we're talking undefeated fighters, fighters that didn't know what it was to lose. Angela Leo was the first champion that Stephen Fulton faced, and it would be a much more. It was a fight that was demanded a lot more energy, demanded a lot more grit than anything that Inoue's gone through. The toughest fight now Inoue's had of his career is against Nonito Donaire, who's an old dude who couldn't go full tilt like the young Donaire. If it was the young Donaire, it'd blitz him. He'd have blitzed him. All right. He was an older Donaire, so he had to conserve his energy. So they weren't going full tilt for a whole 12 rounds. Donaire had to suck in. When Donaire was taking a rest, that's when Inoue hit him with the left hook and put him down. And he still got back up. If Inoue was this devastating puncher, like y'all say, you hit a guy with a left hook, you don't get back up. Donaire got back up and fought and actually closed the show stronger than Inoue. And he broke Inoue's eye orbital in that fight. All right. So y'all got to think about what I'm saying. I know Inoue grew off of that fight, and he caught Donaire with a very sharp right counter that put Donaire down. That was that. But what I'm going to say is, I'm still an old guy. This guy is in his prime. Stephen Fulton is in his prime. He's fresh. Right? He's undefeated. When has now Inoue faced an undefeated fighter in his career, in his prime, at the top of his game? He hasn't. Fulton has. Brandon Figueroa, switch hitter, hard puncher, inside grueling fighter, weigh you down, throw a bunch of punches, had power in both hands. When has Inoue even faced somebody like that? He never had a test like that. Fulton's had that. Right? Fulton's been looking for the smoke. So if this young gun in Naoya Inoue, who doesn't have that kind of experience, he's gonna have to step up his game, because guess what? Fulton gonna make him work for 12 rounds. Guaranteed. This is not no one hitter quitter. I'm gonna catch you with a lucky, power shot. Or I think I got you vulnerable. I'm gonna knock you. He gonna hit Fulton with a shot, and Fulton gonna keep coming, and he gonna be shocked. What happens when your power don't mean diddly squat? Because this guy got defense. He know how to roll and ride shots, and he's still coming for you, and he's still putting the heat on you. What you going to do? And I'm guaranteeing you, Fulton's going to want to bully him. He's going to want to bully him as a bigger fighter. And you bully now Inoue, now he has to resort to other things. And if he doesn't have good defense, right? Because Fulton's going to have good defense. He's not going to just come in randomly and bully you and make mistakes and get caught. He's not going to do that. So I just want to say, first and foremost, I do not think that Naoya Inoue is going to beat Stephen Fulton. I'm just being real with you guys. You guys can talk about all the sharpness and his accuracy. We're going to see how accurate he really is and how sharp he really is in this fight against Stephen Fulton, because Fulton got defense. Nobody Inoue has faced in his entire career has had the defense that Stephen Fulton brings to the table. So we're going to see really what Naoya Inoue got. And if he really is a pound for pound fighter after he deals with Stephen Fulton. All right, because I have the utmost confidence in Stephen Fulton that he's going to pull this off. And he might just stop Naoya Inoue with accumulation of punishment and just the physicality of the fight, because it's going to be a very physical fight. Inoue, he's not a physical fighter. He's not that guy. And he's going to have to be physical against Fulton, because Fulton's going to rough him up. He's going to bully him on the inside. He's going to push him back to the ropes. And he's going to frame him. He's going to do him all kinds of stuff. Okay, he's going to rough him up in there. Right? So we're going to see if Inoue could handle that. Okay, because Fulton, when you have the size advantage on a fighter, you got to use your size. And we're not just talking about reach and height. If you're physically bigger than a guy, you're physically bigger. Fulton's basically a super he's basically a super bantamweight that should be at featherweight right now. So he really a featherweight. In fact, he could go up to super featherweight right now. So he's much bigger than Naoya Inoue, and we see it. We just look and you can see Fulton's much bigger than Inoue. The last time Naoya Inoue had to deal with a guy that was physically bigger than him was Nonito Donaire, the first fight. And you saw the difference that size makes in a fight. You saw the difference. So if you guys think Inouye's going to thread the needle and get some shot in on Fulton and put him down, nobody's ever done that to Fulton. First of all, he got a chin. Okay. He's strong. And on top of that, he's very skilled. And I can't see in Naoya Inoue getting some lucky, or some shot where Fulton made a mistake. He catch him with a shot and put him down. That's not going to happen, man. Inouye's not no freak. They call him a monster, but he ain't no freak. He didn't do it to Donaire. Ain't no way he doing it to Fulton. And Donaire took some punches, right? But he not doing it to Fulton. Why? Because Fulton got better defense than Donaire. He's much more defensively responsible than Donaire. And if y'all think Jerome Ennis is good, Fulton's better than Jerome Ennis. Think about that now. Think about that now. Fulton looking for a challenge. That's why he's facing Inoue. He's looking for somebody who could bring greatness out of him. So I just wanted to say that because I don't think you guys understand what kind of fights y'all seeing. A lot of y'all talk. Y'all talking and y'all high up on Inoue because he knocked out an old Donaire, because he beat, the old guys. There's some old faded guys. When you talk about Superfly, the guy that he got rid of in Superfly, dude had a great reputation, but he was at the end of his game. That was his last fight. After he fought, now he knew he retired because he was old. He was 30, was 35, 36? It's old. All right, he never had another fight after that. So sometimes, y'all overhype a fighter. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying his power is not real. I'm just saying that there ain't nothing that Fulton never faced before. It ain't nothing that Fulton never felt before. Fulton be sparring guys like Jerome Ennis. Fulton be sparring guys and schooling them. He been sparring guys much bigger, punch much harder than Naoya Inoue will ever punch in his life. Okay, so he prepared for the power. He prepared for everything. He's prepared. That's why he going in a foreign country. He's not gonna try and fight a fight where it's close. No, he knows this fight ain't close. And he gonna make sure it ain't close. You know what I'm saying? And so I think a lot of you guys out there don't understand what Fulton is doing. Don't understand the confidence he has in his skills and abilities, because he knows he is levels above Naoya Inoue. And I don't mean to disrespect Naoya Inoue or anything like that. The dude got a lot of buzz. He big name in Japan and all of that. But y'all see what Mayweather did to a Japanese dude who got aggressive on him. All right, skills pay the bills. And if you a bigger fighter, man, you got way more advantages especially you bigger and more skilled fighter, because Fulton's much more skilled than Inoue. Let me talk a little bit about Tyson Fury versus this nonsense. Now I'm seeing people in the sporting community and in boxing, finally, some of y'all out there is talking about how this is nonsense. I was watching an interview, where a trainer who had one of his fighters face Errol Spence, Emmanuel Latte, who had buzzed Errol Spence twice in that fight. He was picking Errol Spence to beat Bud, and the reason he was given was that Errol bring a kind of pressure that make you have to fight him. You have to fight him because it's an intelligent pressure coming behind the jab, and he gonna start working your body. And no matter how much you try to keep range and distance from him, I told y'all he have crazy footwork. Errol got crazy footwork. Sean was moving all around the place, in and out and all of that, and Errol was still keeping up with him. So what Terrence has to bring to the table, and what Terrence has to try to bring to the table, is I'm gonna tell y'all what Terrence may have an advantage with. He got to learn how to lock up Errol. And Terrence, he been doing his judo and wrestling and all of that. So Terrence might be able to stop the action by locking up Errol. He gonna have to tie him up on the inside. Now, if Errol knows a little jiu-jitsu and he knows a little bit of grappling as well, Errol might be able to break those locks and work on the inside. So we don't know. We don't know what Errol and Derek James be bringing. But quite frankly, Terrence will have to try and pause the action to control the action. That's what he's going to have to do, because Errol, he don't even come in straight at you. He don't come in, through the open front door. Errol always come through the side door and come off an angle. So all of that's going to be a problem, and Terrence going to have to find a way to kind of shut that down and neutralize. And Errol's a very strong fighter. Like I said before, you're talking about Mike McCallum versus Sugar Ray Leonard. That's what you're really talking about. That's the fight. It never happened, and I know why, right? But it's going to be a battle of attrition. I think that's what's going to happen. Terrence not going to catch Errol with anything stupid, that Errol will just get caught and get put out. I don't think that's going to happen. Errol already knows he has to look out for those shots, particularly the right hook, the straight lefts, the lefts to the body, the left uppercuts, the left hooks. You know what I'm saying? Because Terrence loved to throw that left uppercut, right hook, or he liked to throw that right uppercut, left hook. You know what I'm saying? He tried to knock your chin up and then knock it out of the way. So, he's kind of aware of those things. Terrence would throw these combinations, 3-4 punch combinations on the inside. Terrence is also a very good inside fighter and also protects his body pretty well. But again, if Terrence is just thinking about trying to keep him at range like what he did with Jose Benavidez, that ain't going to work. Errol's going to get on the inside. His jab dictates everything. He's going to slide on the inside. Errol is a counterpuncher as well. He's also a good boxer off the back foot. Just in case, Terrence decides to come on the front foot and come at him. We've seen Errol get buzzed a couple times, okay? But he's never been put down. Terrence has been put down. Terrence has been put down unofficially by Mean Machine, but for the most part, he also sturdy. He has been clocked a couple times by Gamboa as well. And he'd been buzzed a couple times. But ultimately, in the end, both fighters are sturdy guys. So, I told you guys this is a 50-50 fight, and it's not easy to call, is because, yes, I understand what Tank is saying. Errol got a chin of steel and all of that. I hear all of that. But when you get caught right, you can still get hurt, right? You get buzzed or something. Of the two of them, we know that Errol got the better stance, right? Errol's got a really great platform. He's very stable. He always staying in balance, right? Pivots like a mother. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to cuss, but his pivoting is ridiculous, right? So all of these things about Errol are good, but when it comes to Errol. Errol's very sharp, very skilled in what he does. All right. And like I said, I don't think we've seen all of Errol. So hopefully Terrence can bring out some other aspects of Errol and other adjustments he will make that will make the fight very interesting. But Errol is known for his pressure. And you give him ground, he's gonna take it, right? But he's a smart guy. He's a smart pressure fighter. He's not just gonna come in there and get countered by you and then continue the same thing. He just make adjustment. He'll smile, make adjustment, and that'll be it. Now, thing about it is, right? Terrence brings some unique shots, like he's rubbery. So he'll throw a shot that's so awkward and like a mixture of two shots or whatever. Because of his instinctive reflexes and his instincts, he adapt a shot to get to the target. So he might be throwing, for example, a jab and then straighten it out and make it a hook because he realized, oh shit, I gotta get to my target, because he's thinking about the target. And so, Errol might get caught with one or two of those, I think. But I don't think he's gonna put him down because Errol gonna probably ride it or whatever. Once he sees, oh, you changing direction on me, okay, I'm gonna ride that or whatever. So I think Errol's a guy who will make an adjustment to that. I think once Terrence shows him his hand once or twice, and Errol sees what it is Terrence, try to do to set him up to get him, set up the knockout punch. Because Terrence be setting up people as of late, baiting them into there and they're changing rhythm, changing speed, that kind of thing. Once he's in control. If he's not in control of the fight and Errol's in control of the fight, it's going to be different. But the point is that Terrence, he mixes it up, and that makes him unpredictable to some degree. And then his body movement, his hands move independent to his feet. His mid body moves. He also have an interesting rhythm when he really gets to going. He has this unique mid rhythm, which is kind of a little bit difficult to read and a bit deceptive. So it's all those little things. If you give Terrence a chance to do that, of course. If you just jump on him like Errol might do and start to fight fast, you know, figure him out, see what he's got in him, start to fight fast, pick the momentum up, then it's gonna be a different fight altogether. So, but if they just go out there and they're trying to feel each other out and it's slow, I think that works in Terrence's favor. So I don't know exactly what would happen in this fight. Like I said before, just so many different ways this fight could go. But for me, it's a 50-50 fight. I really don't know who's going to win the fight. I'm not even trying to. Like I keep on telling people, I see some people picking Errol, some people picking Terrence. You know, of late, a lot more people are saying things that favor Errol, but I don't really buy into all of that because Terrence could easily come win the fight in a way that we didn't think was possible. So it depends, it's how both fighters decide to approach this fight, and whether they can neutralize each other, and therefore that brings about a fight. People say Errol's basic. I don't think his footwork is definitely not basic. Okay, Errol's changing of levels. His footwork is not basic. He does a lot of things which are fundamentally sound, but the thing that makes Errol special is his footwork. All right, and a lot of people don't pay attention to Errol's footwork. So it is what it is. I mean, he uses feints. He does all kinds of things with his footwork. His foundation it's exceptional. Terrence's foundation is nowhere near the foundation that Errol has. That's one thing I can tell you. And that's maybe where the fight is won or lost. I don't know. With respect to Terrence, again, the thing with Terrence is his unpredictability. Even though he can get predictable as the fight goes along, he has, a rhythm that will have you getting used to, and then his plasticity makes a big difference. He makes adjustments mid-punch. He'll make an adjustment to make sure he gets his punches in. So that's what makes, and then Terrence can throw combinations on the inside. Like he can do a lot of different things from different angles. So, and that make him very awkward. So this awkwardness, I think, is what's going to offset Errol's attack. So like I said before, there's just so many variables in this fight that make this fight something that, fans really pay to see. Now I'm going to say this, hands down. I know this may not be the reality, but anyway, I'm going to say this hands down to everybody out there. If you got to go see a fight, I don't care who you are, casual fan, whatever. You want to see a real fight. You want to see a real fight against the best in boxing. Do not go watch Tyson Fury versus Ngannou. It's a shitty fight. Go watch Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford. That's what I'm going to advise them. Now, I'm a person part of the boxing community, so of course I would advise that. But I would love for casual fans to understand this is the fight you need to see. This is a fight because this is boxing. Both guys are highly veterans of the sport, highly experienced boxers. This is a top class, top tier. This bring boxing back on the map because when you see this fight, after you finish seeing it, this is going to be a real fight. This ain't going to end in 1-2 rounds or some boxer carrying another person. No, this a real fight. Not Jake Paul versus Tyson Fury's younger brother. This ain't no one of them YouTube boxers facing a YouTube boxer like what we see there. And not to disrespect them. They do put on some good fights. This, the top of everything. These are two seasoned boxers in their, close to their primes or in their primes, who are about to face each other. Both guys devastating knockout artists. Like they knock out everybody. Anybody they come to, they knock out, they flatten, right? This gonna be a more exciting fight. I'm guaranteeing you guys ever. I don't care who you are. You could be a casual fan. You could be a purist. This gonna be the most exciting fight you're ever gonna see in boxing. And it's going to be exciting because when you see these two titans clash, they going to clash. And it's going to be fire. Okay? And if Errol come out all guns blazing from round one, tactically and aggressively coming at Terrence because he's supposed to be smaller than Errol, and force the action from round one all the way up to whenever the fight ends, right? Might end in a knockout. This fight gonna be one of the top fights spoken about of all time. You know, and be like Tyson versus. So I'm hoping this is, more importantly, I hope this is a very exciting fight. You know, because the people like Tyson Fury out there who feel they following Floyd's example when they not, okay? And it's not about Tyson Fury at the end of his career having a fight like this. That's not my criticism is not that. I do not criticize Tyson Fury for having a fight with Ngannou, okay? I don't criticize him for that. I criticize the fact that this fight is sanctioned as a championship fight. This is my criticism. You can do whatever you want. You could have a stay busy in between. All right. The problem with it, there's two problems with this. The first one is that the WBC even sanctioned this as a championship fight. They endorsed this. And then the second thing about it is you're supposed to be facing Alexander Usyk. And no set of excuses. If you are going to have any fight after turning down the Usyk fight, you better face somebody who's either a former world champion or somebody who has faced a number of former world champions, a top contender, an established top contender. Now, if he went and after, he turned down the Usyk fight, he faced Anthony Joshua. Oh, we good. Because Anthony Joshua was the former unified world champion, of which Alexander Usyk beat. So that would be good. Right? Even though Joshua be coming off of, one win? He beat some unknown guy. That would look good. If you, Tyson Fury, went and faced, not Deontay Wilder, but you faced Andy Ruiz next, that would have been good. I would have loved to see that fight because I know Andy Ruiz can close the distance. I'd applaud you on that. Because Andy Ruiz was a former world champion, all right, who has faced other former world champions and beat them. And also present former world champion, yeah, and one of them he lost to, but Joseph Parker. But he beat most of the other former world champions he's faced. But to tell me, not only do you duck Alexander Usyk, and that's a straight up duck, but did you punk the entire boxing industry by doing a championship fight against a guy who has never put on a pair of gloves in a professional ring, is a travesty to boxing. It's not about when you do it. No matter when you do it is a travesty to boxing, especially coming off of ducking a fighter. That is a mockery of the sport, period. Point blank, period. And we must not reward that. Nobody should go see that fight. And we know some UFC fighters and UFC fans would go and watch it because they're stupid. But nobody should go see that. You do not financially reward a sanctioning body for making a championship fight out of a stay busy fight. That's a stay busy fight. And deny elite fighters who should be in the position for championship. That's the whole reason why your sanctioning body has rankings. You have rankings so that elite fighters go for that title. That is a real official boxing title. If you felt that you needed to have a title WBC, then there was the diamond belt for that. You could have made it a diamond belt championship. Tyson Fury saying this is a non-title bout. And you put the diamond belt championship on the line for this special case because this is a crossover fight. But it was insult added to injury when the WBC sanctioned this thing as a championship bout. There's no excuse for it. That is unprecedented. And I said in another forum when I was typing, I said, even in the throwback days, the early 1900s, when champions faced debutantes, the atmosphere and the era when this happened was because there was no ranking system, one, and two, these so-called debutantes to pro boxing were not debutantes. These were men who had been fighting, street fighting, for a long time in their given towns or villages. They were not known nationally, but regionally they were known. They were names regionally. So when you saw a debutant, a champion facing a debutant, the guy had been fighting most of his life anyway. He just not officially been fighting. Okay. And so because, like things like BoxRec and other places don't know about the unofficial fights these fighters had, they would say that they were debutantes, but they were not debutantes. So even in the early 1900s and in the early 1900s, late 1800s, boxing was the major sport in America and in the UK. It wasn't baseball, one basketball, there was no football, there was no MMA. Okay, it was more like MMA anyway, but nonetheless, it was rougher, it was more primitive, etc. All right, but the point I'm making is, even in those primitive days when we didn't have sanctioning bodies, when we didn't have a ranking system like that, we knew who the top fighters were, and we wanted to talk. And add to it, fighters fought much more regularly than today. They fought 2-3 days a week. Okay, so they needed opponents. Okay, even in that system, the people who usually fought champions had been boxing for a very long time. They may not have been boxing, at the international level or at the national level, but in their given districts and in their different given towns and villages, they were known as the dude. Now you won't put a guy who can't box. He's not technically, his technique is terrible. He's strong. He's been knocking out MMA fighters with 4-ounce gloves, right? You won't take that guy who's never boxed a pro or amateur fight in his life. Okay, even when we talk about Floyd versus Conor McGregor, at least Conor McGregor had an amateur career. At least he boxed in his amateur career. And that fight was not a championship fight. Listen to me. There are a couple things I want to say. First thing. You can't say you're doing a Floyd Mayweather stuff, because Floyd Mayweather did not fight a championship fight with Conor McGregor. In fact, Floyd Mayweather didn't hold up the young elite fighters. He surrendered all his titles at the end of 2015, not to hold up the younger, more elite fighters who he knew he was not going to face. And he publicly said, I'm not fighting no other of this generation of fighters. I'm not fighting them. It's not worth it. Right? He said that. He also went on to say, I will never fight a professional boxer ever again after I retire. So he had already set that. He had been very clear. He done with professional boxing. Okay. He retired from the sport, and 2 years later, after chirping, Conor McGregor came on the scene. He came out of retirement to face Conor McGregor. Yes, I agree with all of the purists out there. That fight should never have been a sanctioned official fight. But what we can say is, without a shadow of a doubt, that fight was not a sanctioned championship bout, because Floyd Mayweather was not a world champion anymore. Even though he came back into the sport of boxing, and the WBC put up a diamond belt, they call it the money belt, right, for that bout. That was, it was a sideshow. It was a money-making sideshow. This is not, and that's why some people don't even consider Floyd as 50-0. Even though he is 50-0, there's nothing we can do about that. Okay, that's just what it is. And yes, the crossover fight was an epic fight, because at the time, no one knew, truly, no one could say with certainty what Conor McGregor could do. Because even though Conor McGregor was talking so much, And then he was putting out this, stuff that he, knocked down Paulie and all these crazy things, right? He got all this sensational stuff going. And Conor McGregor was making, especially the illiterate people who don't know anything about boxing, he was convincing these people he could beat a boxer because, one, he had boxed in the amateurs. Two, he knew all these different styles of fighting. And he was good at all these different styles of fighting. He would bring something different to the table that Floyd never saw before. And he's a southpaw, and he was longer, and he's bigger, and he could punch. And also he had, he had all these new training methods and new techniques, and he was going to bring something outside of the box that Floyd had never seen before, and that's why he beat Floyd. All right? So Conor McGregor was convincing a lot of people who had never been watching boxing, didn't know how stratified it is, that he could beat Floyd. And similarly, if we have boxers now going across to MMA and fighting MMA fights, and we have, MMA fighters coming across in boxing, okay? And we even have footballers coming across in boxing. But you have to understand, Floyd kind of started this crossover thing, but it was always seen as not something that's officially a part of the ranking system of boxing itself, right? Because in boxing, a boxer fights a boxer, right? We don't expect an MMA fighter who has no pro boxing experience to be able to, in any way, shape, or form, beat a seasoned pro champion in boxing. We just don't expect it. That's just not something in the realm, because boxing's a thing you have to do, and you have to be really good at it, and you have to move up the rankings. You have to face higher and higher and tougher opposition to be able to beat a champion. A champion's so many levels away from a debutant, like 12 levels, 15 levels, 20 levels away from a debutant. We don't expect a debutant to just come in there and beat a champion. It has happened. It has happened. Has it ever happened in boxing? I don't know if it has ever happened in boxing, but what I do know is, at the heavyweight division, there was a guy who was an outstanding amateur and a gold medalist in the Olympics, and he got a title shot at Floyd Patterson. Forgot his name, a Swedish dude or something like that. And he knocked down Floyd Patterson, and he almost beat him, right? So that has happened. But that's a guy with a background in boxing again. Whether you like it or not, he has an amateur background. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, nobody with no amateur background, no pro background in boxing, that just comes in there and beats a champion. It never happens. All right. The closest thing we've seen to something like that happening was with Anderson Silva versus a former world champ in Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. But he wasn't a champion at the time. He was on a downswing, and he was getting beat by everybody. Right. And then Anderson Silva's in a totally different weight class to him and all of that. Right. But Anderson Silva showed his stripes there. You know what I'm saying? But to say that, there's just certain laws that are in boxing, and we don't expect an old veteran of the sport who is not in the best physical shape, he's declining in physical shape and physical ability, to beat a young emerging either champion or contender. Because we all know boxing is a brutal sport, and the younger fighter with all that energy, zeal, and so on, it's very rare that you got these seasoned old veteran fighters that could keep out their career and hold at bay the young challengers or the young champions. Okay? It's very rare. These are just certain things. Father Time, as it is said, is undefeated. So you have to understand that's just the way how boxing is. So you don't expect an old veteran who's really at the end of his game, he's kind of holding on there, he's still a champion, to not get beaten out of the sport by a young budding champion who got a lot more energy and make the old fighter work. And it's not that the old fighter's not sharper, smarter, probably better fighter in all kinds of ways than the younger fighter. It's that the younger fighter make him work when he don't want to work. Tire him out, get him out of there. All right? That's just the way how the sport go. It's not an old person's sport. It's a young guy's sport. There are very rare exceptions where the older fighter has the conditioning and physicality just sufficient to keep them young lions at bay. There are very few exceptions. Bernard Hopkins, Juan Manuel Marquez, Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao for a season. You know what I mean? You know, they're very few and far between. All right? So you have to learn to get out the sport at a certain point. Otherwise, they're going to beat you out the sport. Okay? Muhammad Ali was beaten out of the sport. And it cost him. But my point anyway is this. Okay? If you go all the way back to the 1900s, you're not going to find somebody fighting a fighter who's never boxed professionally or otherwise throughout his career. He might have done some drills. You might have done some training. You might even have done some sparring in the ring. But you never really boxed. You never was in no competitions whatsoever. You had no pro fights. You had no competition. And even if you did have pro fights, maybe your pro fights, you never learned boxing. So you was just going off of swinging hands. Because some people have pro fights and they ain't know shit about boxing. They just went in the ring and started fighting for money. You know what I mean? And maybe they had a good punch, so they knock out the people. But because it was a regional fighting, you fighting in a town or you fighting in a certain country where there's not much talent, there's not much ability, you got by. So there's all these things you got to think about, right? You know, so because there's levels in the sport of boxing. So, you know, I say all of this to say, if whoever is out there, and y'all can spread this video, I know this video is long, I know the stream is long, but I still have to say my piece. Whoever is out there that's looking at the sport of boxing and saying, you know, which fight should I look at? Tyson Fury versus Ngannou, or Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford? I got my pay-per-view money. I can only pay for one. My friend, I don't care if you're an MMA fighter. I don't care if you like MMA and you like boxing. I don't care if you like YouTube boxing. I don't care what you like. I'm going to tell you right now, hands down, the better fight is Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford. I'm going to tell you another good fight. A fight in which, while I say one fighter could win the fight, it could go the other way. It depends. And this is another good fight. But it ain't come to fruition yet. But Artur Beterbiev versus Dmitry Bivol. I still favor Bivol in that fight, but nonetheless, you know, that's a good fight. Another good fight is Jermell Charlo jumping up 2 divisions. He's undisputed at 154, facing Canelo Alvarez at 168. Again, I favor Jermell Charlo to win that fight. But you never know. It's boxing. You never know what Canelo could bring to the table to neutralize what I said. Because, you know, fighters do improve. Sometimes they work on their game. And you never know. They bring out something that you thought they wasn't working on, and they worked on it. So those 2 fights right there are the other 2. But the best fight for 2023 is going to be Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford. And that's a fight I just cannot call. I really can't call that fight. There's certain fights I just can't call. And this is one of them. I think it's the best fight. It's the pinnacle of boxing. 2 guys, one's, they're both in their primes in terms of performance-wise, they look like they're in their primes. I don't know if they really are in their physical primes anymore. But what I can say is the dog in them, they 2 dogs. You know that's going to be a clash. The other good fight that we had was Devin Haney versus Vasily Lomachenko. It actually was a closer fight than most people expected it to be. But it was quite competitive, but I had Devin Haney winning that fight. I predicted Devin Haney would win. I thought Devin Haney would punish Lomachenko and get him out of there. He didn't get him out of there, but he did punish him. I guarantee you that. Lomachenko, no. He know them body shots he didn't like those body shots. But nonetheless, it was a competitive fight. It was a closer fight than I expected it to be. I had Haney winning 8-4. But I got to say that that was a good fight as well. And unfortunately, people didn't go and watch that fight. They didn't pay pay-per-view to watch the fight. I think it's because of the ESPN app. People really can't They don't know how to use the app. But the rest of Devin Haney's fights are all going to be pay-per-view. I can guarantee you that. I look forward to Devin Haney facing either Teofimo Lopez or Reggie Prograis. I think 135, he tried to kill himself to make 135. He was bending backwards for Shakur Stevenson to make that deal real quick. Shakur dropped the ball on that. Now talking last minute about trying to force the fight, which is never going to happen. And then on top of that, he's asking for an unrealistic demand of 50-50. Well, just shut up. Don't say 50-50, man. Just go for the freaking fight. You want more money? No problem. But go for it. What are you doing? This is undisputed, my friend. You go for that stuff. You don't play around. He played around, and it took months before he even activated his mandatory clause at the last minute after Devin Haney had already activated his mandatory clause for Reggie's program. Devin Haney's moving on. Devin Haney's not going to stay for no Shakur. He's not staying for no Tank no more. These guys, he find they pussyfooting around. Tank can't even call out Devin Haney. Tank just came out of prison. He's not calling Devin Haney. He's not saying it. He's not calling Devin Haney's name. Devin Haney realized he's just going to waste his time, hurt himself. He might as well bulk up, start building up for 140, and get to working there. So he already started working 140. Teofimo Lopez be chirping back at him. That's good. I hope Haney versus Lopez happens. That's a big, big fight. That's a lot of money. Whether Lopez wins or loses, whether Haney wins or loses, that you don't lose in a fight like that. Top Rank will have their hands in that, so Bahrain will still have Devin. I think that's a good way to go. Now, of course, if Devin beats Teofimo Lopez, Bob better have some sort of contract or somebody left there. Maybe have Devin defend against Jose Ramirez or the other guy, begins with B. I can't remember the guy. Barbosa. Either Ramirez or Barbosa. So you can get a couple more fights out of him. And then Devin going to go, of course, across and do the do with Reggie's Prograis. You got Prograis. Actually, Prograis's at the zone. And then you can jump across to PBC and clean up the next two belts there and become undisputed again. Because I think Devin could beat all those guys at 140. I think he beats all of them. But who knows? He mightn't be. I don't know. Who knows? We'll see. I don't know. The thing with Devin is he's not a one-hit quitter. Okay, we know that. What we want to know is, does he have enough pop and power to keep them bigger guys off of him? Antoine Fisher, the Antoine Fishers, all those guys who are sharp and they got some power. But maybe when he moves up, he could get more power. Who knows? We don't know. But I definitely think Reggie's Prograis is a tougher fight for Devin Haney than Teofimo Lopez. I think Teofimo Lopez Teofimo Lopez got a lot of wrinkles to his game. I love his counter punching. I love his right. How he counters with his right. I love how he deals with southpaw. I love a lot of things about Teofimo Lopez. He's a skilled fighter. Even against Sandor Martin, you saw his skills, how he was stealing those punches to the body and stuff. And getting his punches in. So I know that Teo is good. He's a little too flat-footed for me. You stay in position too much. You're not light on your feet. And you can't keep up with Devin. Devin be in and out, popping you, picking you off. Then he decide he want to work you on the inside. He'll work you on the inside. And Teo he's not known as an inside fighter. So it's like Devin got too many advantages over him that he can bully him and rough him up. And maybe he don't stop him. But then again, maybe he might knock him down because a guy like Kambosos knocked him down with a counter right. And I'm telling you, man, Kambosos, he not known as a big puncher, but he show up when it's necessary. You know what I mean? And who knows if Devin might show up when it's necessary? You never know. Terrence Crawford wasn't no big knockout artist at lightweight. He was losing so much weight that he wasn't no big knockout, but he started knocking out people at super lightweight. You know what I'm saying? So we don't know, man. We don't know with Devin Haney. We're going to see. He's growing into his mastering. He's going to grow. He's going to get bigger and stuff. We don't know. He's a big, big dude. He's been compromising weight. So I can't wait to see him functioning at 140. We're going to be high on Devin for a little bit because, Devin been undisputed and all of that. But to be honest with you, them 140 pounders ain't no joke. It's a different weight class and everything. They not no joke. They're killers in there. Like, we got what's his name? We got a bunch of people, man. We got a bunch of people. I can't remember the guy that Reggie Prograis faced and stopped. I can't remember what his name is. Really good Mexican fighter, man. Really good Mexican fighter. Again, good skilled fighter. And so Prograis, of course, would love to eat Devin Haney for food. He would love to stop him. You know what I'm saying? And Prograis ain't no joke, y'all. He ain't no joke. So don't get it tripping. Prograis can take a punch, and plus he can also dish out punishment. So that would be a good fight for Devin Haney. We will see if Devin Haney could get past that because I tell you, a pro grade dog, and he looking to hurt you. So I always thought that Haney versus pro grade would be the best fight out there right now. Because pro grade, even though he need to move up to welterweight, he got that strength still. He got that conditioning. He a dog and he's strong as hell, you know. So, and he got skills. So I would love to see Prograis versus Haney. Haney, of course, got the better footwork of the two, but he moves his feet a little bit more, can make Prograis work for it and counterpunch him, you know what I mean? But we'll see. I don't know. Those are the fights I look forward to. Shakur Stevenson should face Tank. That should be the next fight. Shakur Stevenson versus Tank. I'm not sure who would win. It's possible Tank wins that one because, again, let me explain. Shakur looked good against a certain level of opposition. You know what I mean? And I know he sparred Tank and all of that, but he looked good against a certain opposition. Tank is not that. You know what I mean? Shakur hasn't faced anybody that on the level of what Devin Haney has faced in the pros, and he hasn't faced anybody on the level of what Tank has faced in the pros. So while I like Shakur's supreme confidence, he unproven. Okay, Tank is proven. Haney is proven. That's why I said the fight that Devin Haney needed to really make was with Tank, not Shakur. I think Devin Haney would have beaten Shakur. Okay, quite frankly. Tank, on the other hand, I'm not saying that Devin Haney wouldn't beat Tank, but I'm saying the thing about Tank is Tank got experience. So Tank got a lot of wrinkles. Like Tank in the clinch, Tank know what to do in the clinch. Tank know what to do off the break. Tank know how to position his body. Tank know how to use the jab, and keep your hands at home. And he got all the little wrinkles and tricks up the sleeve. Devin Haney got some of them wrinkles and tricks. And by fighting Lomachenko, he learned a lot more how you can wear down an opponent in the clinch, because he was worn down by Lomachenko in the clinch. And Tank got all those little tricks of his sleeve, just the footwork, the way how he closed distance and stuff like that. So Tank bring a lot to the table when Devin Haney fights him. And yeah, Devin Haney sparred him, but that sparring is not fighting. Okay? Sparring is not fighting. Trust me. So, he might have some knowledge of how Tank goes about doing things, but to say that, that's a much more nuanced fight than Shakur versus Haney. I think because Haney got more experience than Shakur right now in the pro game, I wouldn't bet against Haney against Shakur. I know Haney's not as tight as Shakur, but then how tight will Shakur be when Devin Haney starts, roughing him up and really starting to put the pressure on him, put the heat on him, land some punches on him? How tight will he be? He's been tight against a certain level of opposition. Will he maintain that tightness, or will he unravel a bit against, opposition that can do everything that he could do? You know what I'm saying? Maybe not as good, but, So that's what I'm talking about. And I know Shakur prepares himself very well, dedicated to the sport, has a great trainer, his grandfather, plus the other people who are training him. But Devin Haney didn't settle with just, one set of people training him. He's been going through a number of different trainers. So there's a lot of things that Devin Haney's doing to advance his game that will make him always grow and grow as a fighter. And, his size, the size thing is a problem as well. I think, how Tank will handle that size. Tank has experience handling guys with that kind of size, right? But Shakur doesn't. So there's a lot that makes Shakur green, which is why I would like to see Shakur versus Tank, as Tank, is a 135-pounder for sure. Shakur is a 135-pounder for sure. He's now growing into the division, in my opinion. For him even taking Tank as a second fight, I don't know how that fight would pan out. I think Tank might win that fight. I'm not saying he will knock out Shakur, but I think he might win that fight because he presents so many different things to Shakur. The experience, I tell you, the experience is something, man. Especially when both fighters have round about the same skill set. One might be sharper than the other, but you got round about the same skill set or round about the same ability. It come down to experience, and Tank got a lot of experience. And Tank is very, very relaxed in that ring. Even Devin Haney's not as relaxed as Tank. Devin Haney still shows he's still young when it comes to that. And that's another thing, composure. If Tank has better composure, Tank might beat Devin Haney. That's why I'm saying, that fight, Tank versus Devin Haney, to me, is actually the better of the two fights, and it is a bigger fight than any fight that Devin Haney could have. And it really be an opportunity for Devin Haney to test his skills against Tank for real. You know, Devin Haney talk about you could smoke Tank and you do that. Trust me, you ain't just smoking Tank. That ain't happening, right? You ain't cooking Tank. Okay, this is that totally. The Tank that was indisciplined, could make weight and stuff. Maybe you smoke him, but this kind of Tank, this Tank that just came out of prison and all that, you not smoking that Tank just like that. That's gonna be a close fight. A closer fight at least, and a much more competitive fight than Haney's had with, I would even say, I would venture to say, much more competitive than the Haney versus Kambosos second fight. It would be a competitive fight. I don't know exactly. Can't say it's the same thing like the Loma fight because Loma moved his feet a lot. But he did catch Devin Haney a couple times. I see Tank catching Devin Haney a couple times in this fight and turning the tables. I think Devin Haney outboxed him a lot, even bully him, and but Devin Haney definitely not gonna get caught. Okay. Now, Tank ain't going to put him to sleep because Devin Haney's tough, but I could see Tank closing the gap on the fight because he's catching Devin Haney, and he's going to catch him. You're not going to put him to sleep, but you're going to catch him. He's definitely not going to catch him. And wake up Devin Haney, and we'll see how, but Tank is a dangerous fighter. I think Tank versus Shakur, Shakur don't make mistakes like that, but Tank gonna force him to do things he's not comfortable with, and that's the difference. Shakur wants to dictate. If Shakur is not dictating, Shakur has to fight to get back that authority to dictate. And I just think that Tank is a guy. He's crafty, he's smart, he's watching you, he's reading you, he's watching what you do, and you're not gonna be able to do the same thing to him for very long. He's going to call you out on it, right? And when Shakur gets hit, he tough. He's a dog. I expect Shakur to retaliate. I think Shakur would start to bang with Devin Haney, with Tank at a certain point because Tank is going to bang with him. Tank is going to force him to bang. Tank is not going to just let Shakur outbox him for 12 rounds. Hell no. That's not happening. Shakur, again, trying to push Tank back would be good in spots, pushing him back, making him use the ring, making him, pushing him back and letting him know, oh, I got some heat on me. You want to just roll up in here just like that. You're not just going to steamroll me. I got some heat coming back at you, just picking his shots sharp, So I could see Shakur making the fight, interesting, but I think Tank getting to his body, Shakur does protect his body pretty well, but still feigning him as if he's going up top and then going to the body. Tank do that feint. He do a lot of feints, feigning him. So I'm just saying, people thinking that Shakur is just gonna steamroll Devin Haney, steamroll Tank. Y'all in some kind of dream world. The dude ain't even got the experience to steamroll them veterans. You gotta understand, Tank and Devin Haney are veterans to Shakur. Right? Haney got his championship belt before Shakur. The first person to get their championship belt was Tank. Right? Tank, the most experienced of all of them in terms of being a world champion for how long, facing world championship competition. He the veteran. He the guy actually that precede all of them. But because, he wanted Floyd to dial back on his career, Tank could have been doing some spectacular things, facing some really tough opposition, and really had a resume, which would propel him forward even further. He didn't really take the big challenges. So he'd been kind of sidetracking, picking off certain shots, dialed it back, and he kind of cruising right now. You know what I mean? Still picking off the weaker of the set, like Ryan Garcia. He's looking at lucrative. Okay, cool. I'm going to pick him off. He the weakest of them. You know what I mean? So he been doing that. He been picking it and choosing what he want to do as he walked through his career. And, Devin Haney, on the other hand, been taking the hard road. So because of that, he learning a lot. Like, you gain a lot of experience. I say your opposition really makes you as a boxer, right? So the tougher the opposition is, whatever. I don't mean tougher. I mean more qualified and just much more veteran experience and stuff. All the wrinkles of boxing is the more you learn. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily tougher, because what's tough for you may not be tough for another. Styles make fights. You know what I mean? And IQ makes fights. So But what I'm saying is Devin Haney, he got the premier experience at lightweight. You know what I mean? Tank got overall, he got more experience than everybody, but not necessarily the premier experience more than everybody. You know what I mean? Tank went up to 140. He didn't face the champion at 140. He faced a guy who had a secondary title, long, rangy, smart fighter, that kind of thing. But, a guy, who was not the top elite guys. He was one of the top 10, but he wasn't in the top 5. He wasn't in the top 3. You know what I'm saying? Whereas with Devin Haney's been facing top 10 fighters since, I believe, is it Jorge Linares? I think it's Jorge Linares, right? He's been facing top 10 fighters since then, right? So it was Jorge Linares, then I think it was Jojo Diaz, sorry, my bad, Joseph Diaz. Then I think it was Kambosos, and then it was Lomachenko. So he's faced 4, elite top 10, fighters, of which I believe 3 of them are top 5 fighters, right? So Jojo Diaz is is he a top 5 fighter? I don't know if he's a top 5 fighter now, but so my point anyway is Devin Haney's got that elite, experience, back to back. Tank hasn't been doing that. Shakur hasn't been doing that. I mean, Shakur has faced 2 world champions, and then at featherweight he faced a top 10 fighter. But he don't have that kind of level, the level of competition that Shakur has faced. Devin Haney's faced way, higher level of competition in that respect. So that's why I said, Haney versus Tank would be that was the fight to happen, not Haney versus Shakur. Shakur just came to lightweight, man. Come on, man. Like, and I mean, he was a unified champion at super featherweight. He could have, like Jamel Charlo, just jump the gun and go up and face Canelo, or jump the gun like, with who else? Who else is doing that? Like Inoue jumping the gun and facing Stephen Fulton, right? You know what I mean? But and that's greatness. That's greatness, for Shakur. And, everybody think he's sharper, better fighter, more precise, better defense than Haney and Tank. So I get what everybody's saying, but the man got to prove himself first. You know what I mean? You got to show me that shit. I ain't buying that. That's smoke and mirrors for me, because when I look at the level of competition you face versus what they face, we don't know if you got chinks in your armor, because you ain't been put to the test like those guys been put to the test. This is the thing. You got to show me that your skills are for real. You know what I mean? And we're not doubting that his skills are for real. I'm sure his skills are for real, but he just never been tested like that. Like them guys been tested. You understand what I'm saying? Now, with respect to Jamel Charlo, he been tested at 154. Now, we don't know what will happen at 168. But the one thing I know about Canelo is his foot activity. He's sporadic. He don't got that cardio. He don't got that foot activity like Charlo has. And that's what Derek James said. He said his footwork, his speed, his lightness, his quickness is what's going to win him the fight. And it's true. Hands down, Dimitri Bivol. Perfect example, right? Caleb Plant to a lesser extent. If he didn't get caught, the body shot slowed him down. Of course, Canelo going to try and go to Mel's body, but Mel protects his body very well, rolls right punches, is tough, got a good chin, all that kind of stuff. Plus, he the twin of his brother, so the only thing is he wouldn't have had no tune-up fight at 168, no acclimatization fight at 168. But from what I'm hearing, Mel don't want no acclimatization fight. He going straight at Canelo. You know what I mean? And Mel's aggressive. Like Mel, if he hurts Canelo, he gonna try and finish him. I'm not saying he gonna finish him, but I'm saying he gonna try. Because Nello, we all know Nello got good defense. I don't really see Canelo getting knocked out. That ain't happening in no fight. Nello could go fight a heavyweight. He not gonna get knocked out because he got good defense. That's one thing about Nello. You're gonna catch him with a shot, maybe 1 or even 2 shots, but you're not gonna catch him with 3, 4, 5 shots. That ain't happening, right? So Canelo, is one of those really good fighters, and we're gonna see what Mel can do. We're gonna see. I mean, if Mel do what he's supposed to, he'll be always a step ahead of Melo. Canelo, but Nello and Mel, but I like Nello. Nello good. I'm just saying he got a deficiency. And if you exploit his deficiency, you beat him. Period. Point blank period. That's just the way I go. Nell, great fighter, but he got a deficiency, and it's gonna be the footwork. And Nell gonna have to find a way to slow Nell down. Um, and Mel is not a guy that, Mel's always in great condition. It's like if Nello was Nello has faced Arislandi Lara. So what Nello is counting on is his size and his power to, if he hit, Mel with a shot, he slow him down. That's what he's hoping for. But I'm telling you, man, of all the Charlos, Mel is the sweeter of the two. He real pretty with his shots. He gets under shots. He rolls out of shots. He know how to roll out of corners. He know how to use his body size, his body weight. He know how to get leverage under punches. He know how to get under punches. He know how to dip through punches. He know how to, ride your energy and distribute, sort of kind of like a keto, kind of use your weight against you and use your size against you. He got lots of tricks up his sleeve, man. And Derek James know what he's saying. That's a good fight for Mel right at this point in time. A hell of a fight. So I got Mel. And I know, and a lot of people will say, nah, man, Nelo's going to take him out because, he's too small. You know what I'm saying? And Mel's not going to come in. Mel's not going to go in there big. He going to come in there small, like Floyd. Canelo's probably going to outweigh him by, 10 pounds, 15 pounds. Canelo going to be the bigger fighter, but Canelo needs speed. He's going to need quickness. He's going to need explosiveness to keep up with Mel. And he's going to need that constant foot activity. If he can't have that constant foot activity to keep up with Mel, now always going to be a step ahead of him, and that's not good for him. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that Canelo can't stop Mel, and get him out of there. I'm not saying he can't, but I think his chances are slim in this matchup. I think he picked the wrong guy to start off his career with PBC, man. But they all tough from here on in. You talking about Morrell. Morrell ain't done nothing in boxing yet. He's dangerous. He's long. He's rangy. Canelo could beat Morrell, I'm pretty sure, because he got a lot more experience. Cuban-inspired boxing. If Morrell started boxing, it's like headaches because, but Arislandi Lara did him. And just imagine Mel doing the same thing, but better. He don't like boxers. And Nella like you to come to him, you know what I mean? Benavidez, I don't know why this ninja didn't just take the Benavidez fight. That would have made so much sense. To me, the guy who Canelo could beat, he mightn't stop him because Benavidez is a tough guy, but the guy he should have faced, and maybe Jose Benavidez and David Benavidez turned down the fight. Maybe that's what happened. Because I'm sure Canelo was probably trying to make that fight. But I tell you right now, Mel was like, you kidding me? I'm taking that. Right? After he passed by Derek James said, yeah, we can beat him. That's a good fight for you. Mel jumped at it one time. You know what I mean? Hold on a second. I gotta go out there. All right. Yeah, so Nello versus Charlo is a good fight. And for so many reasons. It's historic, etc., etc. There's just a lot of things going on there. It's a good fight. I think it's more winnable for Charlo, particularly, But, Charlo sometimes like to engage. He like to engage too much. Derek James be telling him he just box him. Make your life much easier. So, but if he engaged too much, Nello will get the upper hand, and Nello will hurt him pretty bad, I think. So, those fights are all interesting. Of course, this afternoon, Alicia Baumgartner is going to be taking on Christina Lenartadu. So that's a good fight. And of course, Jerome Ennis is going to be taking on Jerome is going to be taking on Arthur. I'm trying to remember the guy's name. I think it's Harutanyan. I think it's Harutanyan. Yeah, it's a guy, a German fighter. He good at boxing. He's good at moving a bit. He not anything tremendously special. He got a couple of wrinkles up his sleeve. We're gonna see what he's looking forward to this fight. This is his first debut in the U.S. from Germany. He's excited. I know he's gonna bring his best foot forward versus Jerome Ennis. Maybe they make it a good fight. Who knows? We'll see. Jerome Ennis, of course, trying to make his name on this guy. This guy's a solid guy though, and he has upset 2 fighters before. He's undefeated, so he don't know what it is to lose. So it's an interesting fight. We don't know much about the guy, so you know what I mean. I've seen him box. I've seen him stop some guys because he starts off with a left hook. He throws a left hook. His first punch is not necessarily a jab. He might leap in with a left hook, or he might just throw a short left hook on you when he's on the inside, just all out of the club loose guy, and he knocks out people. But then again, the guys he's knocking out, we don't really know who they are. You know what I'm saying? So it's like he's like a regional guy. He's beaten a lot of guys that came into the region, came into Germany. He's mostly fought in Germany. In fact, he's only fought in Germany. So this is his big stage, his big time to shine. And he might just get sushi. That's what might happen, but we'll see. I don't know. Let's see what he brings out of Jerome. If he can make it difficult for Jerome like the other guy before this most recent fight. No, not Jerome. What am I saying? Oh my God. This is not Jerome. Sorry, my bad. This is Frank Martin. My bad. Frank Martin, the Southpaw. This is Errol Spence's fighter. Yeah. So we'll see what goes down and how that fight pans out tonight. I'm gonna catch you guys later. I'm WattUNeed. One more thing, you can also donate to this channel, but you're gonna have to donate after this video. I might be able to put it in the description if you want. So once I'm finished streaming this video, you should be able to see it in the description. I won't be able to approach the comment section until the video actually comes up. But I hope you guys have a good one. This is WattUNeed. I'm gonna catch you guys later. If you guys want to talk up some more boxing before this day is over, I'm also down for that. But I gotta go outside and I gotta cut some stuff first, get the place cleaned up a bit on the side of the house, particularly. I also have to do in the back, so I'm gonna go do what I gotta do. I'm gonna catch you guys later. Also, praise be to the Most High God always, 100%. I'm gonna catch you guys later. Peace.